It should be.
Oh,
Yep.
Oh, we
We're
got
go.
it. Perfect.
great. Hello and welcome to this, I call this meeting to order, the City of St. Catharines Committee of Adjustment and Consent application hearing for October 11th, 2023. We begin this gathering by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Acknowledging this reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of the Indigenous people. So welcome to this hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of St. Catharines. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. There are two major types of applications to this committee: applications for consent and severance, and applications for minor variances to municipal zoning bylaw requirements. Evidence may be required to be given under oath if deemed necessary. Please address all your comments and questions through the chair. That will be me this evening. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant and to any other person who appeared before the committee via the Zoom format or filed a written request to receive a notice of decision. Pursuant to the More Homes Built Faster Act, in the matter of consent applications, the applicant, the minister, or a specified person or public body that has an interest in the material has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of the consent to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the mailing of the decision. Minor variance decisions may also be appealed by those same people. However, they must be made within 20 days of the making of the decision, and the decision, the cost of the decision is of an appeal, is $400. So we do have an agenda revised numerous times before us. Are there any amendments or additions to the agenda?
There are not.
Excellent. May we have a motion by a member of the committee to adopt the final agenda that was given to us? Thank you, Carrie Leask. May we have a motion to adopt the minutes of the last meeting? Thank you, Tom. Does any member of this panel have a conflict of interest in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing or the previous hearing if they were not in attendance? Carrie, it's a thumbs down that you do not. No one is indicating that they do. So we'll take that as there are no conflicts of interest among the committee members. Thank you. Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
There are not.
All right. So the agenda we have is intact and represents how we're going to proceed throughout this evening. So generally speaking, we, the Committee of Adjustment, are volunteer members of your community, taking our time to review these applications, the associated staff reports, and participating with you in this public forum to arrive at a decision as to the application request, whether it be approved or denied. And we will be accompanied by, so we have myself, David, Carrie, Jamal, and Tom as your members. We're all here present today. No one is absent. And there are a variety of staff members those who have submitted applications will have met during that process, who will also be available with us this evening to assist on the particular application. So I can close this window, which is open, and take a look at our agenda here, which the first item is item number 1 for 32 Bachhaven Drive. Or is that Beach? I guess that's a Beach Haven Drive. I was getting fancy with my German there, but anyhow. And at Beach Haven Drive, there is a minor variance request to facilitate the use of an existing detached dwelling as a 3-bedroom short-term rental unit. The staff report, which accompanied this file for our review, recommended approval of the application. We did receive later in the day, but we did receive, as part of our review, 2 written comments from community members. And there appears we have an agent representing this application. So Jordan or Kristen, did you want to present your application, please?
Yeah, for sure. So we've had a chance to review the staff report. We're pretty happy with the recommendation for approval. I just wanted to give a little bit more context just because of those comments that were received today. So just to kind of summarize this application. So this application stems from an application for a short-term rental. This process does require 1 parking space per bedroom. The subject property is pretty existing, narrow. Even the existing conditions kind of have difficulty providing parking and landscaping for the existing dwelling. Our intent of this is to kind of mitigate having overbearing parking in the front yard, reducing it down from 3 required spots to 2, and then also maintaining a good amount of landscaping. So as the report references, there is alternative transportation. So not only buses, and the occupants could also use taxis or Ubers or bicycles as well. So hopefully that addresses the comments received today.
Well, thank you. Of the comments received, someone was glowingly in favor, and someone was rather opposed to the fact that people who might tend to occupy short-term rentals are in fact here on vacation, and public transportation isn't typically a mode of transportation they use. And you have made an attempt to address that in your comments. Thank you. Are there any questions right now of the members of the committee to the applicant agent? No. There are no registered speakers, but as I did mention, we did receive those written comments, and there was an attempt to address those by the applicant. Maybe I'll just reiterate the fact that the reduction, there are in fact the minor variances are a reduction in the parking spaces from 3 required to 2, an increase in the maximum front yard coverage from 50% to 57.9%, and an increase of the maximum driveway width in the front of the front lot line distance from 50 to 56. So the driveway essentially is larger than it should be in proportion to the lot frontage, but it's not big enough for 3 cars, as per the city's requirements for a parking stall width. So with that, reiterate, David, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, following a question. I noticed in the technical report that there is an additional variance that I presume we have to make note of, or was there a revised notice of hearing that I missed?
There are in fact 4
being the minimum landscape
Yes,
reduction.
correct. That well done. That is on our that is on the technical report and not in what was just mentioned. So the minimum landscape open space requires 35%, proposed is 34.4%. Does the city planner representing this project application have anything to add about whether or not there are in fact all 4 that we're looking at?
Yeah, it should be, sorry, to the chair, it should be 4 variances, the
Okay.
parking area coverage and driveway width and landscape open space.
Okay.
I believe it should have been a revised notice of hearing.
Great. Thank you. It's there. David?
Then I'll make a motion. Following consideration of all written oral presentation, I move that variance application A9923 revised as outlined in the technical report be approved as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw. And that adequate notification of the revision to the minor adjustments has been provided with the current notice of hearing package.
Okay. Thank you. So that is the motion before us is in support of the staff report. All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. To the applicants, your application has been approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
That allows us to slide into item number 2 on the agenda, which brings us to 37B John Street. And at 37B John Street, there is a minor variance application to accommodate or to facilitate the construction of a proposed 1-story sunroom addition, which will be built at the rear of the existing 2-story detached residential dwelling. The rear yard setback that is required is 6 meters. The proposed is 5. I believe that there's an existing deck upon which the enclosed sunroom will be built, and that therefore the setback does not meet the enclosed room requirements as it would for a raised platform, perhaps. So we do have a staff report which does recommend approval of the minor variance being requested, and we have, I believe, an agent representing this application, Jonathan.
Yes.
And or Elizabeth. Hello, Jonathan.
Hi there. Yes, Jonathan here. Yeah, you explained the proposal adequately. I've read the comments and I have no objections.
Okay. Thank you. We are not aware of having received any comments or there are no registered speakers. So that kind of that is the situation before us. If there's any questions of the committee to the applicant, or would someone like to make a motion? Jamal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move variance application A106-23 as presented in the notice of hearing be approved, subject to conditions outlined in the technical report, as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of land, and are keeping in the general intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw.
Excellent. All those committee members in favor of that motion, show of hands. Great. To the applicant, your application has been approved.
Thank you very
Enjoy
much.
your sunroom. And now on item number 3 and 4, and I think 3 and 4 are combined, and our agenda takes us to 119 Lockport Road. And at 119 Lockport Road, there is a severance consent application and associated minor variance application to accommodate a so the proposed severance is to sever part 2 for 119 Lakeport Road, which is part 3, and merge it with 17 Lakeport Road for the purpose of a proposed boundary adjustment to add existing 9 parking stalls on part 2 to 117 Lake. So we're chopping up land and moving it around adjacent properties to accommodate parking is the short answer. The city staff report with respect to the consent application includes 7 conditions that they would like to have considered if it's granted. and the minor variance is proposed by city staff to be approved. The minor variance relates to minimum landscape buffer for parking area, which would be 3 to 0 because it's abutting these two properties. So if I have understood that correctly, and also in our application, there was a misprint slightly of the dimensions that were being asked for. So we do have a corrected values for the square meters, and so we do have the corrected values anyway. So in the application, it was consent to sever 195.18 square meters of land. It should actually be 194.6. And then with respect to the minor variance, it did in fact read 464.27 square meters, but it should read 514.7. So we'll consider that to be a clerical cleanup. There were no comments received. There are no registered speakers, and the applicant, owner, and agent is all the same person. Martin, did you want to add anything to the conversation, to your application? I'm looking for a highlighted square. There we are.
Yeah, hello. Yeah.
Hi.
I basically have Greg Hind as my agent.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just.
Greg?
Yeah, I'm just. Yeah.
And I do see that we do in fact have registered speakers with respect to the minor variance. So Martin, you're looking for Greg Hind to step in?
Greg, are you there?
We see his name. We see his square. Uh-oh,
Yeah,
did he just disappear?
He's gone, yeah.
Well, how about while we're waiting for this technical reboot, we do in fact have registered speakers specifically to speak, it appears, to the minor variance portion of this application. Martin, you're one of them, as well as Dave. Well, are they all part of the applicant team? Greg Hind, David Fullerton, Kimberly McKee.
Kimberly, are you there?
Hi, Jane, I am.
Okay,
Hey, Kimberly, did you want to speak to this application?
In what manner? I think Greg was
well, first order of business would be to make sure that your audio, you're not listening to yourself on YouTube and trying to speak with us on your computer, because we're going to get feedback and echoing like we just experienced. So you'll have to shut off the YouTube part. And with respect to registered speakers, it appears as though you have registered to voice an opinion on the application. And this is what we're inviting you to do at this time.
Okay, so what do you need from me? You want me to, I'm sorry.
We'd like to know whether or not you are in favor of the minor variances, or you're opposed, and what aspect of the application you have an issue with.
I don't. I'm in favor of the variance.
All right, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it as well. Yeah.
Well, Martin, of course you're going to be in favor of it. You are in fact the owner. So that goes without saying. We don't want it. So that's enough from you, sir. David Fullerton, who is this person, and are they here to speak to the application?
Well, actually, he was just going to be a bystander. He's my lawyer. And it was actually supposed to be Greg Hind that would be addressing the council. And I don't know where he has got to.
I'm getting a fuller picture here. So in our agenda, we have a list of registered speakers, and they're all part of the design application team. So great, understood. If Greg Hind is unable to rejoin us, I honestly think that we can proceed without
Greg
his
is
contribution.
here. I'm just not sure. I've seen him just join again. Greg, are you there? Okay.
Well,
I'm
while
not
we're waiting
sure.
for Greg, do any members of the committee have any questions of any of the applicant team with respect to their application? Yes, Carrie Leask.
How does Kimberly McKee fit into this plan of the?
We don't at this point. She has withdrawn her opportunity to. She had no comments, so we tried to straighten that out, and there is no participation. So
no, she's my realtor that's involved.
Yeah, well, typically the registered speakers are speaking from a point of view of the neighbors surrounding you, not usually stacked with people. No, the application team. So that's why we're confused here. These are all on your team, so obviously there's going to be
I'm very
speaking
sorry
in favor of it.
Yeah,
that's okay.
But he's my urban planner that was supposed to speak.
Hello?
And I apologize for that.
I could
see.
Would you have any questions?
Greg is.
I don't have any questions. I read the reports.
Hello.
I don't know who's talking right now, but Greg, yes, Greg, we can hear you. One moment, please. We're just trying to straighten out the audio here. So Greg, I just went through, reiterated the general intent of the applications for the severance and minor variance, and went through the staff report recommendations, and we're inviting you to add anything you think needs to be added to the conversation.
And you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Sorry
don't touch anything. Just clearly. All right.
Sorry about the technical glitch. Yes, I do represent Mr. Hopkins in this, and we've reviewed all the conditions and explained it to him, and he supports all the conditions as outlined in your report. As indicated by the staff reports, this changes nothing from a land use and functionality point of view. It's the separation or boundary adjustment from one property to another to recognize a parking lot that services Benjamin Moore Paints on 117. The land use doesn't change, the impact on the neighborhood doesn't change, and it'll just retain the viability of this operation and the functionality of the commercial parcel. We've read the reports. The staff has covered everything very well, and the adjustment reflects how this subject lands function, how they have functioned over the last several years, and there is no change in this functionality as a result of the consent. There's no additional impact on the neighborhood, as I've stated, and it protects a very efficient parking area. It protects a very efficient and safe operation of an ingress and egress off of Lakeport, and that's an important aspect of this whole thing. As far as the variance is concerned, the reduction of the buffer area is something that's absolutely necessary for that parking lot that's existed for a number of years to operate. It still provides an adequate setback from the traveled portion of Lakeport. I think it's about 7 meters. But more importantly, if you walk the site, you'll see that the street curves in that area. And with no buffer there, it will certainly improve the sight lines. It's certainly minor in nature. It's desirable for the appropriate development of that site. It's desirable for the appropriate and safe operation of the existing parking lot. And it certainly meets the intent of the city zoning bylaw and official plan in this area. It protects the existing situation, and
And there will be no aspect of this site that will change, not from a streetscape point of view. People will not notice the difference. Neighborhood won't notice the difference. And the staff identification about us coming into compliance on the semis, we've been working on that, and we'll address that with municipal staff. And we've got two options to solve that problem. It's a condition of consent. It's a condition of the variance. And we request the committee to support the staff report for the recommendation of both the severance and the minor variance. And I'll try to answer your questions if you have any.
All right. Carrie Lease apparently has a question.
No.
Oh, are there any questions of the members of the committee to the applicant's agent or the posse that have joined them? No. Carrie Lease, would you like to put a motion on the table?
I would. Following consideration of all written and oral presentation, I move that consent application B2123SC and the minor variance application A111-23 be approved as presented in the technical report, especially as it relates to the correct dimensions of 194.6 and 514.7. As the consent is desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, has no adverse impacts on the surrounding properties. As regard for section 5124 of the Planning Act, conforms with policies of the city's official plan and zoning bylaw, maintains the intent and purpose of the provincial policy statement, and does not conflict with any applicable provincial plans. As it relates to the variance is minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and is in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
And that motion is being read in with those corrections that I had mentioned earlier about those values, correct?
Correct. I see David's got a question.
Yeah. So although if there's no discussion, all those in Dave, do you have a question? You don't have a question.
I'd like to suggest the addition of that adequate notification of this minor adjustment has been provided with the current notice of hearing package.
Right on. That's a friendly amendment.
All right. So that's the full package right there. Just to recap, the motion is to, as per the staff recommendation for them, is as per staff recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Anybody opposed? No. Okay. So the applicant, your application has been approved unanimously. Thank you so much. And now we're moving on to 38 Melody Trail. And at 38 Melody Trail, there's a minor variance application to facilitate the construction of a proposed sunroom, which will be built on an existing 1.6 meter high deck, which is located at the rear of an existing detached dwelling. The kind of like the one one of the ones we just reviewed. The rear yard setback required is 7.5 meters. The proposed is 3.8 meters. Staff, I was already looking at the staff report. So staff report includes a recommendation for approval for this rear yard setback minor variance. And we have received comments, and there is a registered speaker who we will get to shortly, just after we invite the applicant's agent, Sandra, to speak further to this application. So Sandra, are you here? Or Christine, are you here? I'm scouring the names. I don't see anything I recognize.
Sandra is there.
Oh, yes, there she is. Sandra, can you hear us?
What? Hello.
Hi. Would you please put your camera on as well so we can see you?
Is that it? Is that the camera? Where's the camera? Andy, where's the camera?
Shall I give her my go-to line? Alt V?
Is the V for video?
Yeah.
Come on. Start
Well,
moving.
while you're working on that, did you have any thing you wanted to add to the report, to your application?
Yeah, you see what is the sunscreen?
I want the sunscreen. No, I don't know. No, the reason why I want the, what do you call it, the sun deck in the back there is because I have melanoma and I have to be very careful of the sun, and we get direct sun in that backyard. So with the sunroom there, it gives me a chance to enjoy sitting back there, and yet I don't have to worry about the sun on me.
Who's talking, Greg?
Okay. That's a very reasonable expectation. Carrie, did you have a question?
Who's talking?
That's Sandra
talking?
speaking.
It's Sandra.
It's Sandra.
It's Sandra. She's listed as the agent for this application, but we'll assume that she's also the owner.
I thought
I don't know who these people are. Sandra, are you do you in fact live at this residence? Hi, we can see you.
Tell them that Peter is your agent.
Peter is my agent.
All right. Well, Peter Secord is also a registered speaker. Boy, this agenda. You think after 3 times it'd be nice and clear. Well, we saw Peter earlier. We saw his knuckles and there he is, the roof of his car. Peter, did you have something you wanted to add to this application?
Nothing more than I think what Sandra was trying to tell you pretty much came across. I'm not sure if the committee, the property, but the backyard faces onto a very large pool area from the neighbor. The neighbor is their family and has no objections from what we hear, as well as on either side. There's no sight lines with the sunroom being attached to the house causing any problems. The deck was there to begin with. It will be reconstructed, to code to get this deck permit passed, but basically the same size. And then we just got to get the engineering through to be able to build it. But if the committee is going to follow the recommendation that be approved, I'm sure the Packhams would be very happy with that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Well, let's see what the committee decides to do here. Members of the committee, any questions of anybody involved in this application? If not, with someone, Tom?
Tom, you're on mute.
Tom, you could just unmute yourself.
Sorry. All right, I'll present a motion. Following consideration of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A105-23 as presented in a notice of hearing be approved, as the variance is minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and is in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
If there's no further discussion required, all those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Okay, to the applicants and whoever the heck you guys are, your application's been approved. So be well and enjoy your new sunroom.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome. So item number 6 in our agenda is 594 Niagara Street. And it's a accessory dwelling unit activity going on here. Specifically, this application for a minor variance is to facilitate the construction of 2 interior ADUs, which is the latest and greatest thing that the provincial government has allowed for within the existing detached dwelling. To accommodate the 2 ADUs, there are 2 minor variances related to the relative size floor area of the 2 ADUs, 60 square meters or 40% of the overall floor area is allocated, and these are somewhere in the range of 86 and 89 square meters, as opposed to the 86 max. Staff recommendation is for approval. Well, it's as simple as that. Hope I got this right. There is John Kazertsky is the agent acting on behalf of the owner, maybe. And if you are John, please address us now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. We would like to thank city staff for their favorable report. I would like to add that we are here because the existing home is unusually large. It's almost 3,000 square feet, completely above ground level. And hence we're looking to make the principal dwelling will remain quite large. And we're proposing 2 slightly larger accessory dwelling units than what the zoning bylaw currently permits. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. And by slightly, we're really saying 25% larger, ish in the range.
Well, but we are though, however, we're not over the 40% maximum, which is permitted by the zoning bylaw.
Yep.
But because the home is so large, we're 34.9% and 36.2% respectively. So we are under the 40%. It's just we are proposing slightly larger dwelling units for a much larger than usual home.
Understood. And there are no external modifications to the existing structure to accommodate this. This is all happening within the existing 4 walls, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yes.
Great. Thank you. Any questions of the committee to the agent? Kerry?
Not the agent. Through you, planning. There's been a mention over time about this housekeeping bylaw, and the reference to it went away for a while, but I noticed that in this report, it's referred to again as it relates to the ADUs. We gather that there's going to be some revisitation on the square footage maximum and the percentage. Is there any sort of timeline as to when we might expect that will come down the pipe along with all the other modifications that may be involved?
Well, like any other housekeeping, it happens when company comes over. But in this case, maybe there's a better answer.
Through the chair, unfortunately, I don't have an exact timeline. Would my manager be able to, manager planning, be able to answer that a little better?
So through the chair, yeah, we've had to delay it a couple of times. The province keeps introducing new legislation that we have to comply with. So we keep having to change our housekeeping bylaw. But we are aiming for this fall to have some type of draft ready and then to take it to council probably by the end of the year or early next year.
Thank you.
It is fall, just saying.
Just barely. It was like 30.
Yeah, I know. Just barely. Okay, Kerry, so with that clarification, did you want to continue with a motion regarding this application?
Talking to me?
I am talking to you.
Absolutely. Let me get my paperwork in order. Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A10723 be approved as presented in the notice of hearing and recommended as an approval in the technical report, as the variances, of which there are 2, are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion as read? Actually, Tom, I can't see anymore.
Yeah, it won't let me turn it on for some reason. It said the host stopped it.
Did I hear you raise your hand?
Yes.
Okay. We'll try and figure out the tech. Oh, there you are. So what I understand is that application has been approved unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Now
very
we are going.
much.
You're welcome. Item number 7 for 1751 4th Avenue brings us. Yeah. So this is a consent and minor variance application to facilitate the sale of lands between a couple of owners with adjacent properties to shorten it nice and sweet. And the city's staff recommendation has 5 conditions related to the consent. And if that is approved, they have recommended approval of the associated minor variances. And what else might I be missing? There's some more measurement corrections to be noted in this project with respect to the minimum lot area of an agricultural farm. As stated, it was 10.69 was so 16.2 hectares to 10.69 hectares, but it should actually read 10.39 hectares according to the survey. There is so I would invite the agent Craig to shed some more light onto this application, please, if you think we need to.
Thanks very much, Chair Redden. Appreciate it. Tom Richardson is solicitor for the applicant, so he's just going to provide some cursory remarks and overview of what the application is all about.
This has, cursory remarks, not cursing remarks. Okay, good. So cursory remarks we accept. No cursing, please.
No cursing, and I hope to be cursory. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for allowing me to speak briefly. Mr. Rowe is the planner who has worked on this file, and you will see 13th Street Winery on your screen. That's Mr. and Mrs. Whitty, who are our clients. Mr. and Mrs. Whitty and I have been working on this file now for 4 years, which is why I asked for the opportunity to speak in support of the recommendations made by both the city and the region on this matter. You had on your screen the plan, which shows a proposed severance of land from a farm. There we are, thank you. Part 2, the Bacchus farm is comprised of Part 5 and Part 2 and spans the 15-mile creek, which, as you will know, is the boundary of the city of St. Catharines. So part of the Bacchus farm is in Lincoln and part of it is in St. Catharines. The Whitty farm is Part 1. This is part of a much larger holding by the Whitty family, who are longtime farmers in the city of St. Catharines. Over the years, as you would expect in the agricultural area, the two families have cooperated with respect to obtaining water for irrigation purposes from the 15-mile creek. But you'll see that the creek is solely or completely within the Bacchus farm. The negotiations between Mr. Whitty and Mr. Bacchus were an attempt to ensure that both farms can utilize the water in the creek for irrigation purposes. And so what has been struck as a deal in which the Bacchus family apply to you to sever off Part 2, which then will be merged with Part 1, which enlarges the Whitty farm, although it's still less than the required minimum in the bylaw, hence the need for a minor variance. And it reduces this Bacchus farm. They also are larger landowners in Lincoln. So a minor variance is required there, and that is a condition of the severance, which is before you today, that we obtain a minor variance in the town of Lincoln. Mr. Rowe has already applied for that, and we have a date for the hearing of that minor variance in Lincoln, provided that you are kind enough to grant the severance today. So the key here is this is a matter of providing irrigation to two farms. And the committee may or may not be aware that this is becoming a major issue in Niagara, and that is providing during our climate change irrigation water for our tender fruit lands. We provided to staff a video which was put together. The first half shows Mayor Easton of Lincoln discussing the fact that a farmer in Lincoln, south of the highway, is required each spring to lay 6-inch diameter irrigation pipe under the highway to Lake Ontario to pump water up to irrigate his farm. And the second half of the video showed what's happening in Niagara-on-the-Lake. You can actually observe this each summer as you drive out Highway 55. Niagara-on-the-Lake now has 2 big pumps on the Niagara River, which are pumping water into the drainage ditches so that the farmers can draw water from the drainage ditches to irrigate their farms. So in this case, Mr. and Mrs. Whitty have been foresightful and wish to ensure that they have a continued ability to irrigate their farm. We met on site with the planners for both the city and the region. As you'll see in their report, they have concluded that this is beneficial for agriculture here. And so we bring to you today the application for consent to sever and the conditions attached, and our clients are in agreement with it. If there's any questions about the planning appropriateness of this, Mr. Rowe is here to respond to that as he brought the application on behalf of the Whittys. Thank you, sir, for allowing me those cursory comments.
Thank you so much. I'm going to add that I have on occasion kayaked between Part 5 and Part 2 from Lake Ontario underneath the 4th Avenue Bridge when there is in fact water in there, but it's not always the case. But on a couple of times I've been through these properties. Are there any questions of the members of the committee of the applicants, agents? If not, I think that we are with that explanation of what's going on, the background of what's going on here, and the unfortunate situation with the climate crisis we find ourselves in. This is a bit of a reaction to that. So would any member be prepared to make a motion? Okay, Carrie or David, it's your turn.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move the consent application B3223 SC and variance application A10823 revised to read, quote, a reduction of the minimum lot area from 16.2 hectares to 10.39 hectares as outlined in the technical report, and that the adequate notification of this minor adjustment has been provided for by the current notice of hearing, be approved, subject to the conditions outlined in the technical report, as the consents are desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, have no adverse impacts on the surrounding properties, have regard for Section 5124 of the Planning Act, conform with the policies of the city's official plan and zoning bylaw, maintain the intent and purpose of the provincial policy statement, and do not conflict with any applicable provincial plans. The variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments, Carrie? If you could unmute yourself, please.
Through you to planning, I'm just curious, just a point of interest. Condition number 1 refers to another municipality in terms of minimum lot size. How is the city of St. Catharines empowered, and I probably won't ask this question correctly, but you probably know where I'm going, I'm hoping, to insist that something be approved within the domain of another municipality?
Through the chair, condition 1, which requires that a minor variance application be granted by the town of Lincoln, actually came from the town of Lincoln. So because the property abuts that municipality, they were circulated, they were given the same rights as other agencies, and so they provided city staff with that condition.
Thank you.
All right, with that clarity, all those in favor of the motion? All right, I think it's been a unanimous approval of all the applications we've seen. So to the applicant, your application has been approved. Thank you so much. Keep us well fed by keeping your crops well hydrated.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, members of the committee.
Good night.
So that brings us to the end of that portion of our agenda for the regular applications to our new business portion, where we have some housekeeping of our own and to take care of with respect to 189 Lockhart Drive, an amendment to condition number 4. So we that the owners submit. This is the parking lot sidewalk business. Staff has completed a review of the condition of this application and are not opposed to amending the condition as stated above. And that is, I guess, the request to remove the. Actually, I'll have the planner clarify exactly what the city's position is.
Certainly, through the chair. So the original approval, the consent application, development engineering staff requested that cash in lieu be provided for sidewalk installations along both Marsden and Lockhart because it is a corner lot. So the applicant is now requesting that cash in lieu be waived. City staff, development engineering staff have reviewed it. They've agreed to waive that requirement along Marsdale, but they do still want that cash in lieu for the sidewalk along Lockhart.
All right. So it's corner lot. You're picking your street frontages for the sidewalk, and so one is to have it and one is not the cash in lieu. Carrie Lease, do you have a question?
What's the rationale behind that? Do you know?
So the rationale, development engineering didn't provide extensive memo for it, but the rationale is that there's no immediate plans for a sidewalk along Marsden, so they were agreeable to waiving that portion of the cash in lieu.
So the criteria was about imminent, whether it was imminent or not.
That's the comments that they provided.
Okay, thank you.
So there is no mysterious slush fund for sidewalks to be built other parts of the city that need them. It's curious. Okay, so that's the stated facts in this situation. Agent is Greg Hind. Are you planning to speak to this in any further detail? Are you even still here? No.
He is
Gone.
here. He's showing that he's still here.
I don't see him on my list.
It says Zoom user. Every time he signs in, I have to change.
Well, let's just see. What is the will of the committee? Do we, by way of discussion, do we generally feel that no, we like the fact that the staff has vetted this and made a suggestion? Hi, Greg. Did you want to comment any further on this?
No, I think the planners covered it adequately. There is a sidewalk on Marsdale. The house that services on Marsdale is existing. The new lot is on Lockhart. They didn't grant everything we requested. We requested a difference between the subject and the remnant parcel, that it only be applied to the subject parcel. And but we think this is a very logical compromise, and we support it.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad to know that you didn't get everything that you wanted, because it makes it be too easy on you. So that sounds good to me. Any other questions of the members of the committee to the applicant? David, question?
To the planner, Mr. Hind just made a comment about an existing sidewalk on Marsdale. Why would there have been a request for an in lieu?
Development engineering had requested that cash in lieu be provided for the sidewalk along Marsdale and Lockhart. Sometimes they'll collect for like future expansions of sidewalks, or maybe if the sidewalk's deficient, but that's really the only context that I have.
But there is an existing sidewalk.
I think I can clarify. I do not believe that there is a sidewalk on the east side of Marsdale going north from Lockhart. I don't think there is one. That's the confusion that I have.
I can double check. Sorry about that.
It's on the west side.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
As in the street has a sidewalk on a side of the street to allow pedestrians safe passage without being on the street, but it's not on this side of the street.
Right.
So it's not without a sidewalk on a side.
Correct.
So that clarification, I think, still is in keeping with the intent of the of this amendment. So just looking for a committee member to put a motion on the table so we can vote on it. Don't make me pick. Aye, Carrie.
I make a motion to approve the withdrawal of the condition number 4 from file B5522SC.
Excuse me, Carrie, they just want to amend condition 4 just to remove the part for the sidewalk along Marsdale. They can't get rid of the whole condition because staff does require Lockhart.
So I will make a motion to modify condition 4 so that the applicant is still responsible for the cash in lieu payment along Lockhart Drive and shall be relieved of the payment that was originally within condition 4 for a sidewalk along the east side of Marsdale Drive. Did I done better?
Yes, thank you.
I'm sure you could have done it in fewer words, but yeah, that captures it. All right, all those in favor of the motion? All right, that also has been approved unanimously. Thank you so much. And I'm disappointed to see that we have to bring the applicant back from 18 Admiral Road and make them wait to the end of the application. However, Cindy, Bob, are you there?
Yes.
All right, good. So we're here today again due to a lot of a learning curve, I guess, understanding about the lot coverage and the fact that your various structures in the back exceed what's there. At first, we were looking at, anyway, the history. You have some history, and now it appears as though staff has reviewed the application, and our previous suggestion that the pergola be removed to reduce the lot coverage. We're being asked to reconsider the fact that that it can remain as part of the 16% calculated lot coverage. And if there's anything about what I just said, which is not correct, the city planner is welcome to correct me. Otherwise, we can put a motion on the table. Any questions anyone has? Tom, do you have a question?
Yes, two. If a motion's made and approved to remove the pergola, do we also need to add a condition for a building permit, or is that assumed? My next question is, I can't recall if we addressed the lot coverage in the previous variance. Or does this require a different variance for that?
So, well, if I could take a stab at this. So the building permit is always, that's not in our purview. So if the thing we're talking about requires a building permit, the city is now aware of it, and then they will insist on the building permit. I believe in our last motion, we were trying to maintain, I don't know, the 14% lot coverage, which our motion suggested that the pergola has to be removed. And that's where it stands now, I believe. And now it's being suggested that the 16% lot coverage is in fact what we're considering allowing, which would accommodate the pergola. And now, please, clarification from the city's planning.
Through the chair, the approval of the 16% was at the last hearing, and the time to appeal has passed. they're only looking at the condition, whether or not the pergola can stay, because your decision was to allow the 16% with the pergola to be removed. So
Okay.
the appeal period has
So what
passed.
we're saying is by allowing the 16%, there's room in that coverage to accommodate the pergola, which we're being asked that given that we amend the part about having to remove the pergola.
That's correct.
Which will require a building permit because of its size.
Correct.
All right. That's as clear as it needs to be for me. Any clarification required for anybody else, Tom?
If Carrie doesn't still have a question, I'll make a motion.
No, I'm good.
Carrie, do you have a question?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good.
Yep, go forward.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. I move that the condition to remove the pergola be deleted from previously approved variance A0623.
All right. All those in favor of having that pergola live? Anybody? Okay, great. So that's unanimously been approved. Yeah, to the applicant, it's been a bit of an effort, but it seems as though what you are used to in your backyard now shall remain.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Enjoy your pergola.
Enjoy your pergola.
So I don't know if there's any sense talking about lessons learned in that whole thing, but maybe not. Date of next meeting is in fact Wednesday, November 8th, 5 p.m., same time, same place, still remote. We haven't heard anything about not being remote. So it's still remote. Carrie, do you have anything you want to add?
I don't know if anybody in planning could just quickly run through the concept of a natural severance. I'm thinking of the 4th Avenue. I'm thinking of the stream bisecting the property, the part 1 and 2.
Through the chair.
2 and 5, maybe. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
To confirm, you're
Gotcha.
asking about policies surrounding, not fragmenting natural features. Yes, so there are policies in the Greenbelt Plan, PPS, growth plan, and then of course the Niagara official plan and city official plan that prohibits new lot lines to be created to bisect or fragment natural features. In the situation for 7th Street, the municipal boundary already runs along that, so it was considered more of a technical boundary adjustment.
Gotcha.
So maybe I can just jump in a little bit. I think kind of what you were also alluding to was whether the natural feature creates a lot line.
Correct.
Yeah. So there is some, so I believe it's a Supreme Court ruling at some point that when a stream is running through a certain property, that's equivalent to a lot line. That doesn't really follow planning legislation in law, but it has been done in the past. So an owner could come up and say, okay, well, according to the courts, this is already a lot line. This is a much cleaner way to do it. It doesn't impede anything in the future for planning approvals, building permits, and so on. But people have chosen that route in the past as well.
So if somebody does move forward on the basis of assuming that's a quote natural severance, they could circumvent the planning regimen.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's frowned upon in a lot of areas because the idea is that you're, like you said, you're circumventing the rules to fragment agricultural farmland, right? Which is never the goal.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. You know why I'm asking. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, our next meeting, November 8th, I believe I said. Anybody prepared to make a motion to adjourn? Excellent. Jamal, thank you.
We're not like the recurring schedule of the 3rd week of the month and so on and so forth. Like that.